Hi, everybody. This is Dan Stolbarger. Welcome to our weekly update as we look back on the events that have transpired over this last week. It's September 5th, so we're going to be looking backwards. We call it an update, and you want to make sure that you grab the PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this presentation, because there's photos and there's always much more information there than I have time for with this YouTube. So we always begin with our news bites. And again, what's going on, of course, is this the sand is running out of the hourglass in terms of the ceasefire, take it or leave it, according to Biden. And so Biden's saying we're very close to the hostage deal, but the pressure is not being put on Hamas. The pressure is truly being on Israel. Biden's words were, we're close to a hostage deal, but Netanyahu's not doing enough. I think the Hamas leaders are banking on the Biden administration to compel the Israeli government to give in and to ease up on their demands. So it's long been the dream of the Iranian proxies, whether it's Hamas or Hezbollah, to see the U.S. turn its back on Israel. And we're waiting to see if and when that might happen. As you probably heard, the Brits have suspended a portion of their arms sale to Israel. Netanyahu's come out. Unfortunately for them, this broke on the same day that Hamas murdered the 6 hostages. And so the irony of it all is that the Brits are saying, no, we don't really trust these armaments in the hands of Israel. They may be attempting genocide or whatever the case may be. It's ridiculous what's going on. Netanyahu said it's a shameful decision, but it's not going to stop the Jewish state's determination to eradicate Hamas. Interesting, again, this is our news bites, but having been to Israel many, many times, and even up on the Temple Mount, we stopped going up there years ago because it just wasn't worth the time commitment. And as you probably know, Christians and Jews aren't allowed to bring Bibles. They're not allowed to have a cross or any kind of symbol whatsoever of their faith. And you can't stop to pray. But recently, open prayer to the point where there are Israelis, Jews that are prostrating themselves on the ground and praying is becoming now a matter of routine. And it's being permitted by the police on a daily basis. Interesting. And then last up, intelligence sources have told the media outlets that I get feeds from that Sinwar, one of his plans was to, and this is why the Philadelphia corridor is so important, but intelligence sources have stated that Sinwar's plan was to smuggle himself and as many of the remaining Hamas leaders, along with those that are alive, Israeli hostages, through the Philadelphia corridor to Sinai, and then from there on to, you guessed it, Iran. And so that's why it's so necessary for Hamas to say we can have no Israeli presence on the Philadelphia corridor. Okay, then we'll jump into our articles for this week. Again, the first slide up is the article from CNN as they were reporting the Israeli-American hostages that were killed. And again, the headline says what? Israeli-American hostage Hirsch Goldberg Poland has died. Family confirms via a statement. has died? How about what's wrong with was murdered or executed or slaughtered in cold blood? He didn't just die, he was killed. And so just the media and how they project and what they say influences many American minds today. So just so you know, Hirsch was murdered, slaughtered, killed, shot in the back of the head a couple times. That's what took place. That's Hamas. Bibi speaking to the nation. We need to be praying for Netanyahu. It's been very difficult for him, no doubt, with what's going on. He's being attacked on all sides, and whenever I see him or when I'm speaking, you can see he's wearing all of that. But basically, he is taking a hard line, making a strong stance, and the arrows are flying. But in light of what's taken place, he will say, whoever murders our hostages really has no desire for any kind of ceasefire deal. Bottom line. Okay, so he's holding the line and getting tremendous pressure from the Biden administration. Again, now back to the 6 murdered Israelis in Rafah. The 6 Israeli captives were found dead in a tunnel. You're going to see some of the pictures of the room. It was actually a bedroom where the shaft was at, and with cartoon characters painted on the walls. It's sick what's taken place. So 6 captives were found dead in a tunnel in Rafah. What I have heard was that the reality is that the Israelis were so close. It was a matter of hours that they were in the area. They were spotted. There was a investigation of the IDF that basically has come out to say that when Hamas soldiers were seeing that the IDF were making their way in that direction, the direction of where the hostages were hidden 20 feet underground, they killed them and then they fled. And so that's the reality. It was not days or whatever. It was literally within the hour of when they could have been rescued. And that's part of Bibi's heartfelt apology to the hostages' families, that they were a little too late. Again, Hirsch, the American Israeli, his family, mom and dad, so prominent. Never forget. Never forget. This is the funeral. Thousands in Jerusalem lined the streets. We're at the cemetery where Hirsch was laid to rest. And no doubt Bibi wants revenge. And so with everything that's going on with the left trying to burn the country down, undermining any sort of war effort, any sort of victory for Israel, people are wondering what's Bibi's next step. As I've mentioned, I think he wants revenge. Instead of caving in, I think Netanyahu is going to ramp things up. I think within the next 24 or 48 hours, at least during this next week, he wants to exact a heavy price on the Hamas leadership. I think he may try to assassinate Khaled Mashal. He might even just go for broke with Sinwar. I've heard reports that they know where he's at, but he's surrounded with handcuffed hostages, And despite all of that, I wonder if Bibi's at the point where he's saying they're going to kill him anyhow. I'm going to take this guy out. I think the next few weeks are going to be critical in sending a death blow to Hamas. But then the question is the North. And there's an article here, and it's hard for us to comprehend the scope of this. So listen carefully. This is Hezbollah. This is the rockets from the north. Hezbollah has carried out more than 8,600 rocket attacks on Israel, based on the numbers that have just recently been released. By the end of July, it had carried out around 7,500 rocket attacks, but August was the largest month in terms of Hezbollah rocket fire. In general, the attacks have increased every month. And that's, of course, from October 7, 2023 to where we stand now. Unfortunately, it's not tapering off. Since September 1st, the first 4 days of this month, Hezbollah has launched more than 100 rockets into Israel. And we say this all the time. How many rockets could either Mexico or Canada launch into the United States until we took action, until we said one is too many? Once again, 8,600 rockets. Back to Hamas, Khaled Mashal, one of the highest ranking leaders for Hamas now, lives in Qatar, billionaire or whatever. He is now, on last Wednesday, he is basically encouraging Palestinians that it's time once again to strap it up. It is time for suicide bombings, stating that it's time to return to the Intifada era and make terror, because terror is effective, there's no doubt about it, make terror the most effective ways of defeating Israel. He's also urged students in universities throughout the world to continue staging mass anti-Israel protests. I've been in Israel during the Intifada. I know what it's like to get on a bus and wonder and look at people in the eye. I know what it's like to be in a coffee shop and position myself where I can see people coming in, backpack, heavy coat, whatever. That's what is transpiring at this time in Israel. Now, Hamas, they've come back and they've said, here's the deal we want. This is what we're going to put on the table. I think we should see it. This is Hamas's demands for this ceasefire. 1, a complete end to the war in Gaza. 2, a complete withdrawal of the IDF from all areas of the Gaza Strip, including the Philadelphia corridor. 3, return of Gazans to the northern part of the Strip without any kind of security checks. This would include thousands of militants. 4, a, quote, real prisoner exchange deal. In other words, the release of thousands of militants, terrorists with blood on their hands that are currently in Israeli prisons. And 5, Israel needs to be responsible for the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip. That's their demands. Well, interestingly enough, Kirby, national spokesman for the Biden administration, in light of this ceasefire idea, this is one of those no-brainers. This is a duh statement where he says, currently what's transpired, he says, we've suffered yet another huge setback. And when asked in relationship to what, it's, well, the 6th murdered hostages has created somewhat of a setback for us. But it doesn't mean we're going to give up or that we're not going to keep trying. You think? I find this interesting. Mashiach, that's the slide title on the slide. It says nearly every soldier in Gaza is wearing this patch. Take a look at it. It says Mashiach on the top. If you were to go to the battlefield right now, you would find one common denominator amongst the IDF, the soldiers. The majority of them are wearing this patch, Mashiach, which literally means Messiah, with the image of the temple in Jerusalem. Israel's warriors are looking for the Messiah to come to Jerusalem to set up his kingdom. Pray. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray that Jewish hearts would be open to receive their Messiah, the Mashiach. His name, Jesus, Yeshua, the Christ. Honest Reporting is a news feed that I get. I thought this was interesting. On Sunday, the IDF eliminated thousands of Hezbollah rocket launchers that were aimed at Israeli civilians in a preemptive strike. That was on Sunday, last Sunday. On Monday, Israel ensured the delivery of over 1.2 million polio vaccines to the Gazan civilians. And today, this was a couple days ago, the IDF rescued an Israeli Bedouin held hostage by Hamas for 326 days. This is when we talk about the morality of the Israeli Defense Forces, this is what we're talking about. There's no genocide here. And then we're back. This next slide, this is Columbia University, first week of school. And you'll see the crowds already. You'll hear about this. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free by any means necessary. Does that mean you can shoot hostages in the back of the heads? United Airlines, I had to show this. I'm not going to say you should never fly United Airlines. That's up to you, your airlines of choice. But for me, this is frightening. This now is a flight attendant on a United Airlines domestic flight in the States, because they're not flying into Israel right now. But if you look carefully, what do you see? You see the Palestinian flag pen that she's wearing, and do you see the symbol of what's holding her ID, the kafia, the Arafat, the Palestinian signature symbol? No thanks, I don't want any water or anything. All right, so once again, wrapping up, we're going to Israel November 7th through the 17th. We are going. If you're interested, you need to contact us right away, because we're doing the final counts, and that's dealing with transportation and lodging and such as that. So pray about joining us, and if you're interested at all, give us a holler right away. All right, so that's our report for this week. God bless you. Shalom, and pray, as I mentioned, that Israeli hearts would be open to receive the Prince of Peace, the King of Kings. Amen. God bless you.